Hey guys, it's Jeremy here on Mental Music Meltdown, back with another video. What I got for today, guys, is another ranking the albums video from the mighty SoundGarden. Definitely one of the big bands in the grunge movement in the early to mid 90s. Definitely one of the first bands I kind of really latched on to when I was younger, getting into music. Their album I first heard, I believe, was Mad Bad Motorfinger, was the first introduction to the band, a couple singles. But the album that really got me into them was Super Unknown, like everyone else. And I became a super fan at the time and loved the band. And definitely wanted to do a ranking album for them. Rest in peace, Chris Cornell. Really unique singer, really good frontman as well. They have 6 studio albums in total. They started in 1984 in Seattle, Washington. And out of the 6, I have 4 of their albums on physical media. 2 of them I just never picked up. I didn't like them enough personally to really own them. But I might pick them up down the line if I can pick them up like super cheap somewhere used or something. But let's jump right in, guys. At number 6, I went with their debut album, Ultra Mega OK. Never really got into this album, never really connected with me. Their first couple albums were more punk influenced. Didn't really like the sound as much as the later stuff. But still an okay album, but just not my flavor. And that's what it. We just landed at number 6. At number 5, I went with their second studio album, Louder Than Love in 1989. Better than the debut. A little bit got away, still punk influence, but not quite as much as the debut. Kind of leaning more towards alternative and getting more into the grunge kind of sound that they were later known for. It's a little bit better than the debut, but still not good enough for me to purchase a copy personally. But that fell at number 5. And at number 4, I went with their last album, King Animal, from 2012. This is their return album. They didn't release an album prior to this since '96, so there's a big gap. But did not disappoint. It definitely sounded like SoundGarden. Really solid album. Had some good tunes on it, such as Being Away Too Long was really good. The single Bones of Birds was good as well. 1,000 Days Before was solid, but it's a really solid album. Sorry guys, still getting over a cough. Really solid album from the band, and I wasn't disappointed after the long break. It was nice, refreshing to hear some new SoundGarden material, and it was just a really solid album. And at number 3, I have Down on the Upside from 1996. It's their 5th studio album. Really good album, more alternative sounding at this time. The last 2 albums I found were more kind of swaying into the more alternative sound, but really strong stuff. Still had the core SoundGarden sound. Pretty News was a killer song. I love that song. Blow Up Your Outside World, Bird in My Hand. The singles were all really good on this one. Never Named was solid. Let me see here. Switch Open was pretty good too. Just a top to bottom, really solid album. Like I said, more on the kind of alternative sounding side, but really strong. And at number 2, I went with 1991's Bad Motorfinger, which is their 3rd album. Definitely their most metallic of all their albums, the heaviest by far. They definitely had more of a Black Sabbath influence sound on this one, more deeper groove riffs and down-tuned guitars, more. The whole vibe of the album had a different feel to it than the first 2 albums. Just really good album. Almost made my number 1, but I had to put it number 2 just because number 1 was so nostalgic for me. I had to put it at number 1. And which leads me to my number 1, which is by far their most commercially successful album, 1994, Super Unknown. Monster of an album, 9 or 10 million copies sold. Huge album for them. This was like a household name album at the time. Well, I can't speak for everywhere in the world, but in Canada, everyone knew this album and songs. Had so many iconic tracks, like My Way, Fell on Black Days, Black Hole Sun. I wasn't a big fan of Spoon Man. That song I found kind of annoying. But Kickstand was a really underrated tune. Limo Wreck was good too. Just a top to bottom, almost a killer album. If they took Spoon Man off of it, it would be a 5 out of 5. But with Spoon Man on there, I'd probably give it 4.5 or 4. Always loved this album. It's one of from my childhood that kind of defines my upbringing, listening to music. And I used to listen to this album nonstop all the time. I think I actually bought it twice. because my first CD got scratched or it wouldn't play right anymore, so I had to replace it and buy it a second time. But I fucking love this album, still listen to it to this day. This one and Bad Motorfinger I still pop in quite a bit out of the ones that I have. But this is easily my number one, just for nostalgia reasons. And this brings back all the memories of listening to music when I was younger and, with my buddies and stuff. So let me know down below, guys, what your ranking would be for SoundGarden, what's your number one. And please also list below any other bands you want me to rank their albums of. On my last album ranking, I had a suggestion for Deicide, which is a really cool choice. So I definitely want to do Deicide in the near future. But definitely list down below, guys, any other bands you think I should do a ranking for. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And until next time, guys, keep it metal.